Hey, this is Cornelius Lindsey, and welcome to the Silent Majority. You know, with growing partisan distaste amongst many voters, there's a silent majority that's growing that doesn't find a home in either of America's two major political parties. People don't know how to identify themselves, and a large number of people are simply not voting. Of all the voters, many people are just unsatisfied with either the candidates or the system. This silent majority is growing, and we have something to say. Welcome to the Silent Majority.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Silent Majority. My name is Cornelius Lindsey, and I have a very special guest with me today, Ms. Catherine Davis. I don't know if you have heard any of my other podcasts. If this is not your first time joining me and you have heard my podcast, you know I've had her on with me before. And let's just say that podcast received a lot. It had a lot of discussion, and I wanted to bring her back. She is somebody who I respect very, very highly for her work, and just as an all around great person. So, Ms. Catherine, Ms. Davis, are you there with me?
I'm here.
Perfect. Well, it's been a while since we've had an opportunity to chat. A lot has happened since then. I spent the week before last, I watched all 4 nights and did a recap of all 4 nights of the Democratic National Convention. Last week, I did a recap of all 4 nights of the Republican National Convention. And I wanted to bring you on because I wanted to have a very honest conversation about what did you think? Did you first off, did you watch any of the DNC? Did you watch any of the RNC? And if you did, what did you get out of either one of them or both of them?
I did not watch any of the DNC.
Okay.
So I cannot comment. I've heard a lot about it. And none of it was positive, but I did not watch it myself. I did watch several of the speeches from the RNC. And in all honesty, I've been to Republican conventions live before. In fact, I went to New York right after 9/11. The Republican convention was in New York. And I made it a point to go to that one in memory of the thousands of Americans that died as a result of 9/11. And I can tell you that I have never attended a Republican or any convention that was as invigorating, as encouraging, as hopeful as what I saw from the Republican National Convention.
What do you think was different?
I thought it was the best convention I'd ever seen.
Wow.
Ever.
What was different for you?
This was the first convention that showcased everybody. There were blacks, there were whites, there were Latinos, there were everybody. There were disabled. There, it gave, a platform to everybody. There were former criminals who had gotten out of jail before the First Step Act and after the First Step Act. There were many of the people were just not your regular politicians, old white men making speeches. It was a vast cross-section of America, and I just so appreciated that very much.
Yeah. So I had a chance. I watched all 4 nights of both, like I mentioned, and I had someone on with me, and I was telling him, I think it was on RNC night 3 recap, where I said to him, I said, listen, I feel like just night 3 alone was better than the entire setup from the Democratic National Convention. Then we got to night 4, and he's a registered Democrat, and he said to me, tonight was better than all the DNC put together. It was interesting. It was something that was refreshing to watch. I think as a young black male to watch, to kind of see different faces. There were a couple of areas that I thought were disappointing. And I want to get your thoughts about these as well. And if you had any opinions as it relates to this, I did not see certain faces. Maybe, Candace Owens, I probably would assume I probably wouldn't see her because she is polarizing. What about, certain faces like Angela Stanton King? Like we saw Madison, I think his name is Madison Hawthorne, the young man who's currently right now in the wheelchair, paralyzed, running for office, has not won yet. But yet and still, I didn't see Angela Stanton King. I feel like there was a missed opportunity for the Kentucky Attorney General there. While he did mention Breonna Taylor's name, I feel like we're the law and order. If there's going to be the law and order party, then we could have went a little bit further with that. Did you feel like there were still some places where the Republicans could have really been a little bit clearer in the message of law and order, or really seeking to bridge that gap, bringing in those voices that could still be seen as being marginalized with people like Angela Stanton King?
I think and I can't speak, for the party. Mm-hmm. I don't know what was in their brain. But I think when they had Kim Klacik, that they thought that was a good representation for young, energized Black candidates. And yes, they could have had Angela. They could have had either one of them, in my mind. Should they have had both? I don't know. I don't know about that, Cornelius. I don't know. I don't know that they needed to have another Black voice like Angela when they had Kim. And given that it seemed that they were trying to cover a broad spectrum, I think they picked one of the two that they had to choose from. Now, if I was going to look for someone, it would have been John James. From Michigan, because he is running for the Senate.
Right.
And we only have one Black senator.
Yeah.
And Michigan is a battleground state. So I would think that having had him would have been a boon to them. But, as I said, I can't speak for how they made those decisions on who they were going to allow to speak and who wouldn't get the mic.
Right. My next question for you is this: what do you feel like the current state of politics is in America right now? I know, very open, broad question.
After the president's speech, I saw the video of what happened to Vernon Jones. Mm-hmm.
And Rand Paul and the elderly white couple. And
I specifically want to talk about Vernon.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to talk about Vernon is because when I saw that video, it brought tears to my eyes. And I thought, if Martin Luther King had been alive today, they would have done to him what they did to Vernon.
Wow. Because
back in the day, everybody wasn't walking lockstep with Martin Luther King. Mm-hmm. That was what the whole letter from a Birmingham jail was about. You had people in the Black community who were encouraging him and mad at him for rocking the boat, right, and for being as vocal as he was about our civil rights. The difference is we could agree to disagree, and no one attacked you because you weren't singing from the same sheet of music at that time. Now, many of those folk who were anti-Martin back then, after his death, they all claimed him. I was walking with the brother, and so forth, so on. But that's not true. Mm-hmm. It's not true. He walked to the beat that the Lord gave him, and there were Black folk who stood against him back in the 60s. Mm-hmm. So seeing that broke my heart, that here we are in the 21st century in this nation, And you had these young black and white people attacking him because of his opinion about the president. And back in the day, if I'm not mistaken, one of the white women that was screaming in Vernon's face called him a nigger. Back in the day, every black person would have took her down. And none of them said anything. And they allowed her to verbally abuse a black man in front of them. And they ridiculed him. That scares me, Cornelius. That scares me for the black community because we are so polarized based on a political agenda. And it is destroying whatever community we had left.
Wow.
And that scares me because every area of life that you look at around us, the black community is dying. Whether you're talking health, whether you're talking violence in the streets, you know, all these people protesting allegedly because of George Floyd's death. And I saw on Twitter one day, and I actually copied it, pictures of 50 young people that up until that point had been killed in the name of a George Floyd protest. What in the world are we doing today? It's a scary time. If I didn't know Jesus, I'd be petrified. I really would. And all I can do is pray that God will visit us again and bring us back to our right minds, because right now the black community is on a death march.
That's major. That's major. I have in watching, I've had to see the strength of people like Vernon Jones. I mean, Vernon Jones is here in the Metro Atlanta area. And, I've had an opportunity to personally just see some of the attacks that Vernon Jones is taking, just for the fact that, he chooses to support a politician, something that in an age of civility would be okay. I can disagree with your policy, but I won't degrade you as a person. And it seems as though that there is one side who says, if you don't agree with us holistically, then you are against us. You are against us in everything. And there is no degree of ethics. You mentioned something though. You said it seems like the black community that we're losing in kind of every sector. I can't remember the exact wording that you just mentioned there, but we're kind of losing in everything. We've talked about black abortion. Or we talked about, the murder of black and brown babies. I was in the gym today and I was looking on Fox Business, and there was a gentleman there. He was talking about how black small businesses right now are suffering the most during the pandemic. What other areas have you seen that where the black community is clearly losing out right now, and we're just not seeing it?
We're losing out in every area, Cornelius. If you look at COVID-19, mm-hmm. right? And all of the hype that they're doing about we're going to die if we get together, if we fellowship in church, if we even sing in church, if we go outside. Outside, you have people wearing masks in 90-plus degree heat because they are saying we're going to die. And if you look at the numbers of deaths and how many of those were black deaths, we're leading the pack. Why is that? Why are black people leading the pack in terms of the number of people that have died? And many of those people had other